A backcountry casino has abruptly closed.
Regional casinos will soon be closing as well. San Manuel Casino, that's in San Bernardino County, will be the first to close tomorrow at 5. Then on Monday, Pechanga Casino near Temecula will also close its doors.
Governor of California Gavin Newsom is panicking as the announcement spreads that 214 casinos across the state are preparing to shut their doors, freezing thousands of slot machines, silencing table games, and darkening neon signs from the coast to the desert. The scale alone is staggering. California does not simply lose a handful of entertainment venues in this moment. Overnight, an entire layer of its economic and social life is threatened, and the governor faces the sobering reality that this is not a localized disruption, but a statewide shock touching labor, tourism, tribal communities, and the political future of his administration. Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. From major casino complexes near urban centers to modest gaming halls in small inland towns, the planned shutdowns form a chain reaction. Each affected casino represents hundreds or even thousands of workers, from dealers and pit bosses to restaurant staff, cleaners, technicians, and security personnel. For many communities, the casino is not a side attraction, but the main economic anchor. When 214 anchors begin to lift at once, it is as if the floor shifts beneath entire regions. The governor watches numbers roll across briefing papers, each line representing another property set to close, another town where paychecks, tips, and local tax receipts risk disappearing in a single coordinated move. In the governor's office, panic is not just emotional turmoil, it is the awareness that there are no easy talking points to contain a crisis of this magnitude. Casinos are controversial in some circles, yet they are deeply entrenched in the financial architecture of the state. Revenue from gaming, whether through direct taxation, compacts, or related economic activity, feeds into funds that support schools, infrastructure, and social programs. When 214 casinos announce shutdowns, the governor must immediately reckon with a future budget that may have gaping holes, even before a single door has actually closed. Advisors scramble to model worst-case and best-case scenarios, and every projection looks grim. The implications for workers are immediate and deeply human. Dealers who have spent decades refining their craft, cocktail servers who rely on tips to support families, and back-of-house staff who have finally found stable employment in a volatile economy now see their livelihoods balanced on the edge of an announcement. Even if the physical closures have not yet taken place, the psychological shutdown has already begun. People start to wonder how long their health insurance will last, whether rent will still be possible next month, and if their specialized skills will be useful in any other industry nearby. The governor knows that in every casino district, anxiety is rising long before the last roll of the dice. For tribal communities that own and operate many of the casinos in California, the announcement lands with even heavier weight. Gaming has been a vehicle for self-determination, economic sovereignty, and community investment. Funds from casinos have often supported healthcare clinics, schools, housing projects, cultural preservation programs, and environmental stewardship on tribal lands. The planned shutdowns slice into more than profit margins. They jeopardize hard-won gains that took decades to build. The governor must consider not only the state economy, but also the respect and trust between the government of California and sovereign tribal nations that have made major decisions based on gaming as a long-term foundation. The shock to the tourism sector is another looming concern. Casinos are magnets for visitors, conferences, and entertainment seekers from across the country and beyond. They are often bundled with hotels, restaurants, theaters, and retail complexes that together form mini-cities of economic activity. When 214 casinos prepare to shut down, the entire extended ecosystem is thrown toward crisis. Hotel bookings dry up, future conferences look elsewhere. Tour buses rewrite itineraries. California, a state that relies heavily on its image as a destination for experience and leisure, suddenly risks being seen as a place where one of its marquee entertainment industries has ground to a halt. Behind closed doors, conversations about the reasons for the shutdowns simmer with political danger. Whether the casinos cite regulatory disputes, rising operational costs, labor conflicts, changing market conditions, or some combination of all these, the narrative will inevitably circle back to the governor. Opponents will argue that his policies created a hostile climate for business, while supporters will struggle to frame the event as a complex outcome of forces beyond any single leader control. Every explanation carries consequences. If the cause is regulation, calls will arise for sweeping deregulatory moves that might clash with long-standing concerns about consumer protections and problem gambling. If the cause is market change, critics will insist that leaders should have anticipated and adapted. The financial implications extend beyond direct employment and tourism. Local governments that depend on casino-related revenue for basic services are forced to stare at spreadsheets and see red. Sales taxes around casino districts, property taxes from associated developments, and countless smaller streams add up to a significant share of municipal budgets. A sheriff department that relies on those funds for patrols, a library that uses them to maintain hours, or a park system supported by visitor fees all face uncertainty. The governor senses that each shutdown is not only a private business decision, but also a public finance earthquake that travels outward from every gaming floor. Then there is the social fabric that has formed around these casinos. For many people, casinos are not just venues for gambling, but community spaces where friends meet, where families gather for dinners, shows, or special events. They are hosts for concerts, charity fundraisers, and celebrations. Removing 214 such venues from the social map leaves gaps that are not easily filled by other institutions. There will be debates about whether this loss is in some sense beneficial, reducing gambling-related harm, or whether it simply leaves people more isolated and communities less vibrant. The governor must address both sides of that debate, aware that for every resident who cheers the closures, there is another who grieves the disappearance of a familiar place. Within the political arena, the announced shutdowns threaten to reshape the landscape for upcoming campaigns. Opponents of the governor see an opening to frame him as a leader who presided over the collapse of a major industry. They prepare speeches that link the closure of casinos to broader themes of economic mismanagement, regulatory overreach, or an inability to negotiate effectively with powerful stakeholders. Supporters argue that the situation reflects deeper national and global shifts in entertainment, technology, and consumer habits, and that the governor is reacting to an inherited set of vulnerabilities. Nonetheless, the optics of panicked meetings and urgent statements are difficult to spin. At the same time, community advocates and labor organizers know that this moment could define future norms for worker treatment in California. If casinos can coordinate shutdowns on such a vast scale, workers and unions will ask what protections exist to prevent mass displacement without adequate safety nets. Questions arise about whether severance requirements, retraining programs, or emergency unemployment measures are sufficient when an entire sector contracts at once. The governor must then consider the implications of large-scale labor disruption, not only for gaming employees, but for the precedent it sets across other industries that watch closely to see what level of responsibility business and government will assume. The shutdowns also force a re-examination of how dependent California has become on specific types of revenue. Gaming has often been seen as a convenient source of funds, sometimes less politically painful than raising more traditional taxes. When 214 casinos move toward closure, the fragility of that choice is exposed. The governor now needs to think about what happens when a revenue source built on discretionary spending and tourism becomes unstable. This moment highlights the tension between the short-term appeal of certain industries and the long-term need for a diversified, resilient tax base that can weather shocks. There's also a cultural dimension to the crisis. Casinos occupy a complicated position in California identity. They are symbols of glamour and risk, of quick fortunes and devastating losses. They coexist alongside the state other icons, from Hollywood to tech campuses. When a large portion of that casino presence threatens to vanish, it raises questions about what experiences will define California entertainment going forward. Will the state lean further into digital and tech-based forms of gaming and leisure, or will there be attempts to preserve the physical, face-to-face casino atmosphere that has shaped so many towns and tourist corridors? For the governor, this is not just a matter of economics, but of how residents and visitors imagine the state. The announcement of widespread shutdowns also sends signals far beyond state lines. Investors and corporate leaders in other sectors read this as a possible indicator of California climate for large-scale projects. If an industry with deep roots and long-standing agreements can reach the point where hundreds of properties plan to close, other businesses may hesitate before committing capital to new ventures. The governor is aware that such perceptions can have compounding effects. A single crisis in one industry may, if mishandled, snowball into a narrative that California is too unpredictable or hostile for major investment, even when that narrative is oversimplified. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us? What are your thoughts on Gavin Newsom casino shutdown panic? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.